Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. I've got an Xbox an Xbox Series S here that's got a broken HDMI port. The port is gone. It's rattling around inside there somewhere. So I'm a bit worried about the state of the board in this. I think we're going to find torn traces and a bit of a nightmare job. So let's go, everyone! Excitement! So this top bit should come off as well. There we go. Oh, well, there's the HDMI port. I'm trying to figure out if this has been changed before or not. Hard to tell. The port is also knackered. Okay. Anyway, let's keep going. So I'll take out all the rest of the screws on the bottom here, and then all the internal components will fall out as well. Power supply. Oh boy. Yeah, we're going to be doing a lot of trace repair. I'm nervous. I've successfully done this kind of trace repair before, but I've not done it on camera. And that makes me nervous, but let's see how we go. No, this HDMI port hasn't been changed before. The failure mode where it had been pulled out, where the anchors had pulled out, had me confused. I was like, how have those anchors managed to pull out of the board from a factory fit? But yeah, fair enough. Okay, right, let's go under the microscope and take a closer look at that. Oh, that thermal paste is gone as well anyway. Hoo boy, that's basically all the pins. 19 of them. Let's give some of these a bit of a poke and just see if they're actually mega dead or whether they can be recovered. Yeah, that ground is alright. The ground is damaged, but okay. Come on. Passable. Okay, right. So for the HDMI port, we've got 4 pairs of data pins. So we've got these 4 pairs coming down, and then there's some serial data pins and like some sense pins or something like that. So these pairs are all in really rough shape because these strands have pulled back. What I think I will do is just cut those traces just to stop them from pulling back any further. And then we're going to run jumper wires. Now some of these, like you can see this guy's doing a bit of a wiggle here. And that's because it's supposed to be a certain length. We're not going to be able to get that perfect, but we should get something that's good enough, basically. Okay, I'm going to get the knife out and we'll just do a little bit of trimming. Wow, this blade is really blunt. Right, so I'm not an expert on doing trace repair like this. I've kind of done this just by bumbling my way through it. So my strategy for this is going to be I'm going to flow some fresh solder on all of these joins, clear those holes, and put a new HDMI port in and solder that down. Then I'm going to start running jumper wires from the pins of that HDMI port to the traces on the board. So Yeah, I'm going to start by clearing the holes, reflowing it, clearing the holes, and putting the new HDMI port in. This is going to be pretty straightforward because it's not joining to anything, so we're just putting in a through-hole part at this point. All right, I'm going to come in with the desoldering gun to clear those anchor holes now, and then we should be ready for a new HDMI port. Right, let's do a quick test fit to see if I've cleared those holes enough. They're mostly there, but I could do more. So I'm going to try and press fit this. Yeah, I think that's good enough. I'm content. Right, let's put some anchorage onto here. I'm going to put some flux deep into those holes. Last time I was working on an Xbox. Well, I've been fighting the board weight basically. However, these days I'm now running an Aixon T3B soldering iron, which doesn't have a huge tip on it. It's the T12 handle, the T210 handle. However, just having the extra wattage in the soldering iron has made the world of difference now. The old pine saws just couldn't heat these joins without assistive hot air. They just didn't have the grunt for it. The pine saws have done me proud over the years, but I hit the limit of them with these Xbox boards. Alright, just flowing some solder into these holes. Then we're going to go over them again. If you think the solder has gone through the holes, it hasn't. You've really got to go to town to actually make sure the solder flows down into the joints on these. It's horrendous. And I will get these from the other side as well. I'm just going to scrape away at alternating holes just to really try and make sure that the solder has flowed down. Having my finger on the edge of the port on the other side helps give me a pretty good gauge as to if the heat is there. Like, it's difficult to hold my thumb on the other side of the port because it's getting burning hot. But that's good because it means heat is going into the port, and that means that the solder will actually take. And if a bunch of the solder goes onto the side of the port, don't panic too much. Just keep putting heat onto the board, and you should just be able to convince that solder to migrate down into the hole. There we go. Big old ugly solder blobs, but it ain't coming off. Okay. Apologies in advance for the shaky cam here. I've got the microscope down really low to get a big zoom in, and that means that the wobble in my microscope arm mount is fairly amplified. So apologies in advance. Let's get started, everyone. So we're going to start from the left and work to the right, because I'm right-handed, so I want to fix a pin and then move away from it. I've changed down to my J-tip, and we're going to start over on the left there. Now that looks pretty good. I reckon if I scrape off the solder mask around there, we can just solder blob that one. And same goes for pin 2. Pin 3 is a ground that's got an intact pin on it. I think that's a ground anyway, yeah. So the first 3 are going to be nice and easy. So let's get the X-Acto knife and just do a little bit of scraping. And I need the alcohol as well. Okay, let's solder blob. That's 1 and 3. Let's come back for 2. They're not all going to be this easy. Another thing as well, I'm fully aware that the solder I'm using is way too big. Keep forgetting to get some nice small stuff. Right, and I need to play that game of putting heat onto the board. This is why we want the bent J-tip, just so it can actually press against the board and put heat down there. That looks good enough, actually. It's a little bit rough, but sometimes less is more. Alright, this is where the fun begins. Just going to scrape up the end of that trace to bare copper. Preferably without scraping it off the board. That guy was ground right. Yeah. Okay, right, I need to get a blob of solder, or just some solder, onto the end of the magnet wire now. So I'm just trying to bring this under the microscope just so you guys can see what I'm doing. It's going to be a little bit out of focus, but there it is. This is the problem with the big solder. It doesn't want to come off of the solder wire. There we go. We got it going though. And now I've got to come in with the tweezers. Once we've done a couple of these, I'll probably go into fast forward. But I'm just going to show you the basic strategy first. Oh, I don't think I've... Yeah, there's not enough solder on there. Or not. That'll do. Right, that solder is ridiculous. Let's tin the iron. Right. That should be one pin done. Let's check the continuity. So I'll just put the multimeter into beep mode for this, just because we need to just zap it. As a special treat, I'll actually cut the wire off as well. Okay, where does that trace go? To a via. Great. Okay, fine. That seems pretty good to me. Yeah, I'd say that's on. Cool. So now I've got to do that for the rest of these pins. So in aid of not making this video go on for an hour, I'm going to go a little bit fast and I'll just speak when I need to. There we go. As you can see, we've got a long way to go, but what looks like a disaster is possible. There was a time where I would have looked at this and been absolutely mortified and been like, I don't know. I wouldn't even know where to start with that. But the trick with dealing with this is to just have a go. The right tools are critical. You will need a small soldering iron like the one I'm using. It makes the world of difference. Come on. Come on. Fuck. Alright. No, there's not enough. There we go. Solder, please. I know I need some flux down there, but I just want to get the solder on. Okay. Think we're good? And I'm going to check again. I'd rather... Doing a beep check for each wire I run is time intensive, but it means that I can be reasonably confident that I'm done. Going back and touching these up later where I'm all blocked in is going to be tough. Good. And they're shorted together. Okay. Let's have a closer look there. Oh yeah, look at that. Okay. Let's try that again. Good. Excellent. All right, there we go. That's 5 pins done. Okay, flux. Yeah, that'll do. I'll take it. Right, have we got an intact? That pin's good. I'll flow that again just for good measure. Yep, that's fine. That's a ground. Now we've got 2 signal traces. Don't mind me just leaving some solder on hand there. There we go. Okay, let's get rid of you. Flux and flow. Right, have I got enough slack to just nudge you? Yeah, that's all good. And let's just check for shorts. Yep, those are good. Next pin is ground, then we've got the other signal pin. Okay, let's rough fit these components back into place. And I'm just going to sit it on top of a couple of bits and pieces on my desk just because the cooler pegs stick out on the bottom slightly. And I don't want to like put the cooler down properly. We're just doing a test fit here. I'm not sure which of the auxiliary boards I actually need, so I'm just going to plug all of those in as well. And then we should be able to do a test run on this. And to check if everything is working, I'm going to plug in my Chipmunk HDMI tester from CMI Zapper. So this guy has got a bunch of LEDs on it that will show me if there's power at the HDMI port. It will show me the ED-ID detection, so it shows if the Xbox is detecting the monitor. And it shows the link status of the 4 data pairs, so we can see if everything is actually connected up properly. So let's plug that in. And let's put some power to it. It probably would have been easier to mostly just reassemble it at this point, but whatever. All of it, straight away. All the lights are on. Banging. Okay, that's going to work. I'm now going to power this down just by holding down the power button. Cool. Let's reassemble this properly. I should have committed to that. I was pretty confident after testing all of those pins, but I want a neat way of testing consoles before I go through the trouble of reassembling them, but I don't know if it's really possible. Because, like, the Series S, as you can see, is very modular, and it's very easy to just jerry-rig this all together for a quick test run. But I don't think you could do that with a Series X or a PS5, so I don't know if there's really much point in trying. And even though we can and did jerry-rig this, it would have been just as easy just to slap it in the case anyway, to be honest. So, I'm now going to try and put some protection down on that with some conformal coating or some solder mask. And I'm not very good at using this stuff. However, I'm going to use this dental pick to apply some. So I'm going to poke the dental pick in, and we're just going to daub it all over there. So our main objective here is just to provide a coating over this, just so it can't move about. And the other thing, everyone says use hot air to make this stuff set, but I forget how much hot air to use. But what I do have is a UV light. So what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to put this under my resin 3D printer cure station, which is a big UV light. So I'm going to put it under there for 3 minutes or something, and we'll see how we go. Right, we are now assembled properly, so let's plug in a HDMI cable and a power cable and power it on. Fingers crossed. Yeah, Xbox. Right, that's looking good. I'm going to give that a gentle wiggle just to make sure it doesn't completely wet the bed. Yep. Looks good. I'm not going to test it to destruction or anything. The owner of the Xbox will do that, I'm sure. Good. I'd call that a win, everyone. Right. Thank you for tuning in. I'm really happy with that one. I'm still looking to get like those tidier joins at the HDMI pins. I think what I needed to do was tin all the HDMI pins with solder and flux at the very beginning, because I wasn't using excess amounts of flux because I didn't want to constantly be bridging pins together while putting the jumper wires in. But if I had pre-tinned all of them with solder beforehand, so I could just go in with just the bare wire and some flux, maybe that would have worked out. Either way, while it wasn't clinically tidy, I'm quite happy with the result. So that's a job that would have terrified me once upon a time, and now I feel like that's just a thing that I can do. So thank you everyone for tuning in, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.